I do believe in this idea that if we really want to be creative in our life, it's better to do some exercise and, work out, because what is the connection between working out and being creative? I think if you want to think outside the box, if you want to strive to break out of your comfort zone, it's necessary to have enough effrontery, audacity, and temerity. So it needs self-esteem and self-confidence, and I think doing some physical exercise can help you to have more self-esteem and self-confidence, and as a result, you can be more courageous, and also you have more temerity to take some risk. In other words, you need to be adventurous, and I think doing exercise can help you to do so. And as the last sentence, not only doing exercise is useful for our body, but also for our mind. And
Okay, I would like to start with exercising or creativity. The first thing that comes to my mind is using our imagination. And to start with that, we need to read intensely on the topic. We can sketch different thoughts and try to find connections between those different thoughts and start to ask different questions. In this process, we need to be a critical thinker, and by that I mean to analyze different approaches thoroughly and try to think of their shortcomings. Then we can focus on trying new approaches or combining different approaches into a single one. We also shouldn't be afraid of putting ourselves in unfamiliar and unaccustomed circumstances. Sometimes it is good to walk in a vague space in our imagination and try to come up with something new. So in this step, I think it is very critical to not be afraid of trying new things, even though we are not sure about the horizon of such approaches. And another point here is not putting too much weight on a specific thought. I mean, not to be biased by something in our critical thinking.
First of all, I would like to say that I'm new here. I don't have much more idea about this topic, but I got this topic as do physical exercise regularly. I believe that exercise is very necessary for all of us. It makes us active, energetic, and creative. If we do not work, at least we should lose the fitness. I'm not saying that we should spend a lot of time in gym. We can do easily at home for 15 minutes. That's it.
okay, friends, I'm going to talk about the subtopic of practicing brainstorming, and you should do the same thing. Before leaving a voice comment, please refer to your favorite subtopic and mention that before your actually voice comment. So, practicing brainstorming. There are two, let's say, subtopics for that. Let's say, and when it comes to brainstorming, which is my favorite mental technique and
I practice that a lot. You can just use another technique which is related to that under the title of Think on Paper. It's a very powerful technique and simple. At the same time, just take a piece of paper and a pen. And if you have a big problem, you can devise some strategies in response to that by just trying to come up with any possible solution to the problem. Just do not organize them at that time. Just write down any solution to the problem, and in so doing, you expand your creativity. Later on, you will be able to just organize the solutions or keys to solving your problem and unleashing your creativity. So this think on paper, as I said, is a very powerful technique. And the other thing about just brainstorming and practicing brainstorming is to be able to keep track of the ideas that come into your mind all the time, because sometimes some brilliant ideas come to you, and if you did not record them, they will be obliterated or forgotten. So, uh, in my case, I try to use my cell phone a lot. I keep it nearby, and if it is not possible for me to just write it down with a pen or a pencil, I use my cell phone and record it in short recording files. And later on at night, I transcribe the short recordings. So do not uh, try to lose any piece of information. Okay, thank you.
I would like to talk about brainstorming, which is jotting down our thoughts to come up with new ideas and solutions on a subject. Brainstorming can be triggered when we have a background knowledge on the subject, so we cannot walk into a dark room and expect to see objects in that room. And when I was thinking about what could hinder us from creative thinking and brainstorming on a topic, dogmatism came to my mind, which is having a tendency in our way of thinking on a subject. This prevents us from seeing alternatives, and it also can be caused when we have a predefined results or solutions. And brainstorming is a ongoing process in our mind. Some of items we jot them down can spark even more ideas, and while some of them can be crossed out, but we should avoid close analysis when we are brainstorming. Also, we should avoid to critique or reward one way of thinking over another, because in brainstorming we are just thinking about different possibilities and different factors that would affect our solution or result. Thank you for listening.
Okay, this time I'm going to elaborate on subtopic 1, challenge yourself with creative exercises. And I just want to say that even the very word challenge urges you to become really critical and not just creative, because I believe that creative thinking and critical thinking are intertwined and they are not far detached from each other. A good technique to become more critical is to use WH questions. How, when, where, what, with the help of what or whom, how often. So these WH questions can broaden your perspectives and even knowledge. So in the light of this critical thinking method or technique, you will be able to think outside the box, subtopic 7. And automatically you notice that you become more and more an iconoclast, a free thinker, a maverick, and you don't need to follow other people's footsteps because you will become creative. And yeah, it's so incumbent upon you to become and to further your information and to just create a good foundation of knowledge. So broaden your knowledge, subtopic 2, because otherwise that would be just shooting in the dark. Thank you for your attention.
I would like to talk about subtopic 3, changing your lifestyle. So, to start with, I was thinking about one of major stereotypes about creativity. Many of us think or may think that creativity is just for few people. But I think we all have valuable lessons to offer others when it comes to creativity. So I was thinking about the time that I was a child. I remember I was much more creative, and I think children has an endless creativity and it comes naturally to them. So I was thinking why I lost my creativity as I grew up. Then I thought about so many distractions and busyness in my life. So maybe they are hindering me from being more creative. The other thing that came to my mind is, as an adult, I am more overwhelmed with results and products of my efforts. So I think changing a lifestyle can help a lot. Traveling, being exposed to new things, new people, and sometimes just having a good rest, or making a peace of mind. We all should remember that creativity requires play. And if you remember, as a child, we were so playful. So, thank you for listening. I want to talk about subtopic 6 and how listening to music can prompt creativity. Maybe some of you know people who are creative and listen to music very often, like writers, painters. I think listening to music gives us a peace of mind and pushes all the distractions of everyday life away. I read in an essay that areas of the brain who are related to creativity have slower pathways and meandering byways. In other words, when our mind is in a creative mode, we think more slowly and we think of many possibilities. Therefore, maybe listening to music puts our mind in a state that activates those areas of creative thinking. Thank you for listening.
Related to Picasso's statement, I want to say that when we have good sense about ourselves, we couldn't see changes around, and we will not be looking for new and different ideas, so we don't be curious. When we have a good sense, we are satisfied with the current conditions and don't want to change. Perhaps because of fear or pessimism about lose the good sense. When it seems that everything is perfect, the fear of taking a step into the dark prevent creativity. So we have to look forward and pay attention to changes and try to get better and better. Thank you.
Today I would like to talk about expanding our knowledge and how it stimulates our creativity. In whatever field we are, we need to learn about the current knowledge developed in that field through time before we can make a new contribution. As we know, every great creative mind have stood on the shoulders of their predecessors. So I think the more we expand our knowledge, the furthest we can go in our imaginative and creative thinking. And also, the more we learn about the shortcomings and boundaries of the current knowledge, the better we can think of a way to overcome them. So expanding our knowledge is a critical part of creativity. Another thing I want to mention is that we need to constantly question our way of thinking and even some of the most accepted ideas in the field, because questioning also helps us to touch the boundaries of our knowledge. I would like to quote from Abdul Kalam that says, "When learning is purposeful, creativity blossoms." I totally agree with him that our learning also needs to be purposeful and we need to know what we are looking for. Because when we are purposeful in our way of thinking, we are more intentional and more focused. And that means we are more engaged. That leads to a more creative outcome. Thank you all for listening.
I think everybody concurs with me that listening to music, different types of music, can help you to be happier and to reduce the amount of stress, irritation, depression that come up from daily routines. So as a result, You have prepared a more tranquil atmosphere for yourself, and you're calmer, so you have more room for creativity. And also from my own vantage point, when you're listening to different types of music, it means that you are getting familiar with various cultures, qualities, and features. Because every music belongs to a specific nation. And every nation has their own specific qualities and customs. So it is similar to a situation that you want to, for example, take an examination, which is really important and prominent to you. And before that, you, for example, try to take some mock tests in order to get ready and prepare yourself for the final examination. And if you have confronted with many similar situations, in the final examination, you are super ready, let's say, and you are more actually prepared for the final examination. So if you try to listen to different types of music, you're more familiar with different customs and qualities. So when it comes to creativity, when it comes to innovation, you have more experience in your basket in order to be innovative when it's necessary.